dashed into this and I just wanted to walk through the ingredients real quick with you before we got started. So again, I kid you not, we're making the best pan roasted vegetables on the internet today. And what we're gonna need are zucchini, yellow squash. We're gonna use some tomatoes. It kind of makes its own little pan sauce. So good. We are not using this whole garlic. It's all I had at Instacart today. We're gonna use a clove of garlic. Mushrooms, about half this red onion, butter for flavor, olive oil, because the olive oil will make it so the temperature can get a little bit warmer with the butter, so it sears perfectly, and then some salt and pepper. That's all we're gonna need for this recipe. So let's do the next step now. Okay, so let's get started. The first thing we wanna do is clean the vegetables. And of course, when you get them home, it's always really smart to, immediately wash and dry your vegetables. I'm gonna walk through some of this with you because it might be new, but we're gonna take a little extra effort here today because if you're gonna pan roast vegetables, you want them to get really caramelized. And to do that, they have to be dry. If they're wet, they're just gonna steam, and we don't want that. So, that's great. I have my zucchini washed. I'm just gonna quickly wipe down the yellow squash and wash the tomatoes. Okay, and now that I have this nice damp cloth, I can use that to clean the mushrooms. And I'm just gonna wipe them off. And when I'm done with that, see, they get dirty. It's best to clean them well. And then we're gonna slice things up. So let me just finish cleaning up the mushrooms. I'll be right back with you in a minute, okay? I thought of another good tip while we're cleaning the mushrooms. I know a lot of people just rinse these, just throw them under the sink and rinse them, put them in a strainer or whatever and rinse them. But mushrooms are so porous, they absorb tons of water. So especially if you're gonna saute mushrooms, if you're gonna steam the mushrooms, see how nice and pretty he is. You do not wanna just toss them underneath the sink because everything's gonna be a nice bland color of the same thing. They don't sear. And that's what we're looking for, that beautiful golden brown when we're searing. That's what makes your veggies taste good too. So almost done here. Let me clean up and I'll be right back. Okay, now it's time to trim off all of our veggies, and we're gonna take these gorgeous mushrooms that we just cleaned. We're just gonna trim off the ends. Not because they're going to taste bad, but oftentimes the ends are dry and they get woody. So we just I'm gonna make this as yummy as possible. So I'm gonna first trim off the ends, just the tip. If you were making like a stuffed mushroom, you could trim off the ends and keep them and then like run them through the food processor. That would be super good. So just a quick tip there. Okay, so let's prepare our vegetables. We already did cut the ends off the mushrooms. We're just gonna slice them in half now and toss them in our big bowl over here. And this, it's just part of the process. But we're gonna cook these. You're not gonna believe how simple this recipe is. And it's like on our table for every holiday. I shouldn't make it like a holiday recipe though, because it's that simple. Because they just sear, they get perfectly roasted. But the key to it is making sure they're good and dry. So that's why we washed them and we dried them well. And I'm actually cutting the squash, this is the yellow squash, in pretty big chunks because we don't want it to disintegrate in the pan. We want nice big chunks of it. So into that it goes. Let me get the second one. Don't you love having a garbage disposal right next to the sink? It is my friend, that's for sure. Okay, this guy's cooperating much better. Okay, and there he goes in. Now, what I like about these pieces, this is kind of a little bit of a push, but they're all bite-sized. The mushrooms are bite-sized. So we want to make sure This zucchini is a large zucchini. I haven't seen one this big in a while. Because he's so big, I'm just gonna cut him in half. And then oftentimes the big ones like that are really seedy. He's not at all, so apparently it's a boy. I haven't decided why, but I'm calling him a he. And then again, just nice big chunks, maybe 3/4 of an inch thick. And that's just gonna help it sear nicely. There we go. Okay. Let me finish up with this second one and I'll be right back. Oh my gosh, I can't forget my onion. This guy's giant, so we're gonna use about half. Ugh, he's a big guy, jeez. Okay. And we're just gonna peel that off. It adds so much flavor. It adds just like a ton of flavor. There we go. I'm just gonna cut this off. We want big chunks. Again, everything we're doing today, we want everything to be done at the same time. And it's gonna be done at the same time if they're all about the same size. So that's why you're seeing me do big chunks today and not little dices of stuff. There we go. And that's all we need for the onions. And it'll kind of break up as it's sauteing anyway. And then lastly, you see how talented I am with this clove of garlic. Sometimes if you press them, it loosens them up a little bit. That helps a little bit. Here we go. Perfect. I have a tip for you. Let me show you that really quick. Okay, so I peeled the skin off the garlic. I whacked it really hard with my, in fact, maybe we'll do one more because I do like my garlic. Just gonna dice it up really good and kind of push it off to the side of my board. So if you didn't catch that, because I forgot to record it, we just grab a clove of garlic, set it on the board, put the knife over it, and whack it really hard with the heel of your hand. And look at that, just that easy. All the skin's gone off the garlic. And now it makes it super easy to dice up into a nice good dice for our veggie dish. Bet you didn't know that, huh? Hey, my friends, we're ready to get cooking. So I have my pan on the stove. I have it on medium heat and I'm waiting for it to get nice and hot. So first thing I'm gonna add is a couple tablespoons of butter. You're gonna ask, can I use margarine? I wouldn't. I wouldn't because this imparts a lot of flavor on what we're doing. So use the real stuff. It's probably better for you anyway, but butter. And because butter has a low smoke point, meaning it burns really easy, we're gonna add some olive oil. And the olive oil will make it so we can turn up the heat a little bit, and that's why this recipe works. So another couple of glugs of olive oil. So we actually have about 2 tablespoons of butter, 2 tablespoons of olive oil, and we're gonna let that get all melted and sizzling. Can you hear that? That's cool. See, I'm really not that heat resistant. It's still cold on the top of the butter, so we're just gonna let that cook and do its thing, and heat through. The crazy part about this recipe is that it's almost completely hands-off. So as soon as that gets melted, which will just be another minute, we are going to add the vegetables. And the hardest part of this recipe is we're gonna add the vegetables and we're gonna set a timer for 5 minutes. And we're not gonna touch the vegetables. And that's going to help the vegetables sear, because that's what we're looking for. That's where we're gonna get all this extra flavor and all these yummy vegetables, is when it sears the bread, you know, like all the butters and the olive oil just caramelize and makes it really tasty. So, all right. Okay. So that's simple. Here we go. I'm gonna pour everything in the pan. Good, we got a nice sizzle. And I'm gonna set my timer for 5 minutes. That's how easy this is. You're not gonna touch it. Don't cover it. Don't season it with salt and pepper. We're gonna do that at the end. But if you season it with salt and pepper now, all the moisture is gonna like come out of the vegetables, and they'll be tasty still, but they won't look near as good, and they won't taste quite as good either. Because I always think brown food tastes good, and this is gonna brown well, and that's the secret. So we're gonna give it 5 minutes. I'll be back in a minute. You know, it's hard not messing with the skillet, but I know we're doing the right thing. We're just waiting for my timer to go off. I do have to dice up my tomatoes. Maybe I'll do that really quick while we're waiting for that. But here, I am going to cut them in a small dice. If you had cherry tomatoes, I would just cut them in half. And in this case, normally I would take the seeds and things out, all the juices there. But in this case, I'm not going to do that because, oh, it's time. Because the tomato actually makes a nice little pan sauce, and it's just wonderful. So we're going to keep those juices in there. So again, remember I said it's really hard not to move these around. Well, this is what we're looking for. See if I can. Yeah, it's really hot. See that? See that nice, beautiful caramelization? That's what we want. Ooh, look at this guy. Yum! So now, let me see, I'm gonna just go in here and toss these vegetables again. And see how they're like steaming and everything on their own? Okay, another hard part. Setting our timer again. Another 5 minutes. Just gonna let it go. I'm gonna continue dicing my tomatoes, and I'll show you the next step in 5 minutes. Okay, so our veggies are cooking away. I flipped them again. I want you to just make sure you get, you know, if you see something that isn't quite cooked, just kind of make sure he's hitting the bottom of that pan. You know, kind of tuck him in there so the bottom is flush, so we can get all that wonderful caramely goodness on everything we're cooking today. So just another quick tip. I tell you, this is one of my favorite recipes. I'm like sitting here wafting, smelling all these wonderful aromas, drinking my coffee, waiting for my timer to go up. I did finish dicing my tomatoes. My skillet is quite full. Normally this recipe takes 15 minutes. I'm gonna give it an extra 5 minutes today because it is so full. I want all those deep colors of caramelization on my veggies. I want everything to be browned and beautiful. So we're just gonna sit back and relax and drink some coffee and continue cooking these yummy veggies. We'll see in a bit. Trust me, we're almost there. Patience is the key. Look how gorgeous these are. Just absolutely gorgeous and yummy. And that is what we're looking for. Now there is, look at that. Oh my gosh, the house smells so good. We have, I'm just gonna scooch this back. We have 1 minute left. And in that 1 minute, I'm gonna take my diced tomatoes and add those. The diced tomatoes is gonna make this amazing pan sauce. I'm gonna add my garlic. Garlic only takes about a minute to cook. I'm gonna stir this through. I'm gonna let it cook for another minute. How fabulous does that look? Of course I'm gonna try them. I'm thinking you're probably kind of a little jealous here, right? Because man, these are so good. They're gonna be hot too. You know what makes them amazing is because they're thick enough. See, like thick, and they don't lose all their texture. They're not one big floppy mess there. And the mushrooms, they're so good. Perfect side. I don't care if it's chicken or beef, or you're just looking for a fabulous veggie dinner. Wouldn't this be amazing over pasta? Okay, I just want to say thank you. This is a fun recipe. It is, you know, one of my healthiers on the blog. I don't say healthy ever, but healthiers on the blog. I know that you'll love it. They're great for, like, if you do a little make ahead stuff on the weekends, you know, for later in the week. They heat up nicely too, so appreciate you being here. Head over to TikTok when you have a quick moment. Give us a like and follow, subscribe to YouTube. Sure appreciate it. Have a wonderful day. Stop by the blog too, bowlmeover.com. See you soon.